Hi, James with Team Finish Strong, and I'm excited to bring you today's vlog. We are going to be looking at the Spartanburg Regional Healthcare Systems Criterium, held on April 26, 2019. It is part of USA Crits Speed Week and is one of the premier events for the Spartanburg area. It is part of the annual Spring Fling and usually has over 100,000 people in attendance. We've got some highlights here, and we're also going to go ahead and get started in just a few minutes. I'll be racing in the men's category 4-5 race. We had some high winds earlier that delayed the races by about 30 minutes, and we're about ready to get started.
Okay. Cat 4-5 man, you guys racing for 25 minutes. We still are not out of the woods yet with regards to the wind gusts. Keep your heads up. What? Keep your heads up for debris or any of the fencing going over. If the pace car has to stop, you guys need to stop, so keep your heads up for that. I want to try to leave everyone in the race, do the full race. If you are in the lead and you come upon lapped riders, do so passing safely. If you're about to get lapped, I want you to neutralize yourself and let the leaders go by clean. Have a surprise. Start on the guest starts command, please.
All right, and here to guest start our men's category 4-5 race was our special guest, Mr. Scott Jones from Citizens Bank.
Riders ready? Go.
Little commentary here at the start of the race. This is, I believe, the fastest Cat 4-5 race that I have seen here at the Spartanburg Criterium since I've started following this race. We are averaging somewhere between 25 and 26 miles per hour each lap, and for me that's a full gas effort, just trying to maintain in the draft. Earlier on a previous lap, I had advanced closer to the peloton. Right from the start, the front half of the group kind of took off and left some of us in the back having to trying to scramble our way up through some of the slower riders. And so I'm still here in scramble mode, trying to get close enough to the main part of the group to maintain contact. Very, very tough. And so it was a very difficult start to a race. I've seen some races that averaged 23 miles per hour for the entire race. The leaders on this race, the winners, and I'll just kind of maybe do a little spoiler alert here, they were averaging between 25 and 26 the whole race. So this is not typical of a Cat 4-5 if you're looking to get into racing. This is definitely not typical. This is very fast, even with the windy conditions, so even more challenging at that. I think because Spartanburg is attracting so many cyclists to the region for this particular event, and it is part of Speed Week, that we're just going to continue to see those average speeds go up as more experienced riders put their hand in at trying this event out. Really great event, so enjoy your watching. I'm going to jump back in here to explain what you're seeing. I had been struggling up to this point for about a half a lap to try to bridge back to the main group and realized that I was not going to be successful. So that sort of changed the race dynamic for me. What basically happened was that first half of the group that had been continuing to push the pace, there was a leader that was already about 10 seconds off the front and they were giving chase. It caused the entire group to string out, and just like any elastic band that's been stretched too much, it finally broke and it just left a lot of carnage in its wake. Riders strung out all over the course, myself included. So I just couldn't keep up with the group at that point, and it became a solo race for me from here on out. As I sort of predicted, you can only go full gas for so long. But interestingly, it was still a great race. There were some great efforts put in by those I was with, and so it was still a very enjoyable event. In fact, I would have to say I enjoyed the event more riding off the back than I would have probably in the group mixing it up, because with the high winds, it just really was a safety factor all day long. Just about every race had some crashes in it, and thankful that I was not involved in any of those. So enjoy the rest of the race. I'll jump in as needed here to explain some more. After several laps, I began to notice an interesting dynamic about this particular course, and that is that I carried a good bit of speed through that fourth turn, and as such, I found it easier to bridge small gaps like the one that you're seeing here by doing that, by kind of easing off on turn 3 and then coming faster into turn 4. There was a tailwind there and a slight uphill gradient, so for me it worked to my advantage when trying to get closer to some of the riders that were up ahead of me. This corner that you're seeing here was the hardest corner to navigate. We had a full-on headwind that seemed to swirl around that large building to our left, and so we had kind of a crosswind slash headwind through that second turn, and it required some interesting drafting dynamics to navigate well. And you can see here that I believe was the leader that just passed me. It looked like I was standing still there. He was averaging probably 26, 27 miles an hour the whole race. And interestingly, he is a junior, a 16-year-old from Florida, so just an amazing athlete. He's definitely got a lot of potential. As such, because now we're already being lapped by the leader, the race becomes even more confusing, I guess, for some of the participants, including myself. We have to watch for other riders coming ahead and neutralizing ourselves to make sure we are not interfering with the race in any way for those that are in contention for first and second and third. We're coming around through the start-finish, and I'm starting to get a little bit closer to some of those riders ahead of me. Once I reached them, we kind of settled into a working group that took some turns pulling off the front, and we were able to, at some point, lap some of the other riders ourselves. So it was a really good opportunity for me to get together with a small group that could do some real efforts and make some progress. I'm trying to make a reach for them at this particular point, and it was a really good opportunity. For those of you that are curious, that was the main field that lapped us. And let me tell you, that was certainly a great motivator for us to pick up the pace and work harder, trying to struggle to hang off that back of the field as long as we could. The field was also, I think, struggling as well, trying to stay within reach of the leader, who maintained at least a minimum 20-second gap on the main group. And in fact, it was announced that they were in danger of themselves being lapped by the leader at some point, and if that was the case, that would have been the race. That did not happen, but we did make our effort to stay as close to the group as possible so that we could be competitive, at least within our standings. So you can see here we're going through that hard turn with that headwind slash crosswind and continuing to try to work together. There was about 3 or 4 of us that were able to work together to try to make some efforts and having a good ranking at the end. One of whom is a fellow Finnish Strong member and racing for the Orange Bees, Jeff Jordan. So he and I was working very well together to try to keep the pace up for our part. And for my part, when all was said and done, I averaged 23.3 miles per hour, which is certainly a personal best for that distance, especially given the fact that there was a good significant amount of solo work done after the first 4 or 5 minutes or so. So I was very pleased with that. I'll give you the full race stats at the end, and continue to enjoy. We've got probably about maybe another 5 or 10 minutes of the race. I couldn't quite see that board there, but we've got maybe about a half dozen laps or so left in the race. Enjoy. something noteworthy to add here. That rider who just attacked me did a great move. I had just finished a pull and was not preparing to put in the kind of effort to try to catch him, so I had to let him get on up ahead. And once again, Jeff from the Orange Bees also moved up, so I decided to go ahead and try to hang with him. And as we come around that tough corner with that headwind, I decided to go ahead and attack back. So just tried to keep my momentum through that corner and come on through and caught back up to those fellas. It was kind of interesting. And so we're getting down here to the last few laps or so. It's just a matter of minutes at this point. I think we're probably maybe just 1 or 2 laps to go. So it's going to get really fast, really quick. Let's see what happens. And here we are down to the final 2 turns of the race for us. And using the dynamic of this corner to my advantage, I carry some extra momentum through this last turn, and I use it to propel me forward into my sprint. And I think I started about 200 meters out, and let's see what happens. And there you have it, folks. That's the race, and enjoyed it thoroughly. Probably the most challenging part for me was after that finish there, trying to dodge that last rider. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some stats up here for you. I finished 26 out of 39, so not bad considering about half the group was lapped. And I'll throw my race stats up here for your enjoyment. Had a great time. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time on another vlog. Take care and God bless.